It's a Monday edition of Red Sox Now, all presented by Fan Arch. I'm Mike. The social handles, I know I do this all the time, but we have every day, and I can tell from the comments, and I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, 2 of the 3 comments today are from new people, but I can tell. I should keep all of you in an Excel. Maybe I'll do that from now on. I could do that. Mike Antonellis Media, that's me commenting. I could keep track of all of you on an Excel sheet. I could do that. Now I'll get my assistant on that right away. Please subscribe to the channel because we're climbing towards 3,000. That would be a really cool goal by opening day. I'm a big thinker. We've not done this show a year yet. I would love long term if we could hit 100,000. Wouldn't that be amazing if we could grow it to that? And all of you have been with me since the start, which is great. So many of you guys and gals, and if you're watching for the first time, thank you so much. But it helps if you subscribe and comment and like, get more interactive. It helps the channel grow. You know the deal by now. You can follow me on my socials at the Radio Mike. I mentioned Discord. If you're interested in that, hanging with Mike, you can DM me on X or send me an email if you'd like the link, antonellis.michael@gmail. I have a Red Sox -MLB chat with I don't have a ton of people, but we have all kinds of things in the Discord if you'd like to do it. Some of you older folks are going, what is Discord? Google it. All right. We are Thanksgiving week. Things are going to get crazier. They're still behind the scenes. These guys are working like crazy. We had a trade. The Mets and Rangers. They've been trade partners a lot. Brandon Nimmo, who I love, by the way. Brandon Nimmo, I saw him play in Binghamton for the B-Mets, as they call it. And I remember, his X page is Finding Nimmo. Yeah, you found Nimmo. He's a Wyoming guy. I got to know him a little bit from an All-Star game, 2014. The Eastern League All-Star game was played in Portland when I was their broadcaster. And he was there. Super guy. Super high makeup. Really serious. I remember our manager who had to manage the All-Star game. We only had 3 outfielders on our All-Star team that year. And he told Nimmo, hey, I got bad news for you. You have to play all game. And he goes, I don't care. I'll play every inning. And I was like, wow. This guy was serious. So you saw the kind of makeup he had, and then I think he's had a solid big league career. He's a pretty good outfielder, has pretty good pop. The average has not been there. There is a lot of swing and miss, but he does impact the game other ways. He's a pretty good hitter against lefties. But that's a bat that the Rangers needed, and they got Marcus Semien. 2 older players. Simeon's 34. He's coming off a Gold Glove. He's still a pretty damn good player. He's had some down years. I get it. Texas, they haven't been, well, I shouldn't say they haven't been great. 81 and 81 last year, but he's going to be in a different lineup. Now, Rob Bradford already reported this. And I'm sure that there'll be Red Sox fans that say, well, I don't want Marcus Semien. Well, why not? What would have been wrong with him playing? What we got Meyer. Sure. Yeah, I know. But, Meyer's been hurt. I'd take Marcus Semien at second base right now. I don't care how old he is. I'm not thinking about long term either. You're talking about, this team is now going to take that transition and try to win a World Series. But I don't know if for the salary, probably not worth it. He's due a lot of money, $26 million. But this is what these guys cost: $26 million the next 2 years, 20 and 28. The Rangers had no interest in the Red Sox outfielders. That's what Rob Bradford reported. Texas did not inquire with the Red Sox. And, some of you will say, well, that's crazy. It might be. But again, this is what I've talked about. It's what the Rangers think, not what Baseball Savant's trade value thinks. I go on X all weekend. I see all these proposed deals, and people are lining up, trade value through websites and saying, well, this is fair. It's not, and listen, I'm not trying to poke fun at people. I'm just trying to let you know that Major League GMs don't make deals that way. It's through a lot of their internal scouting. They have their own analytics. There's a lot that goes into it. They're not robots. They're not pieces of paper. There is makeup. That all of that fits. Brandon Nimmo has a high makeup guy that can certainly be a leader. And that's how deals are made. Marcus Semion's a pretty damn good player. Again, a guy that impacts the game without hitting every day. And a few years ago, he was a pretty good hitter, but he's getting older. But I don't know. I don't know if I would have traded Abreu, Duran, or Rafaela for him. I don't, that's... But it is a position that, to me, is a little open right now. It's interesting how many people are just penciling in Mayer and have no injury concerns about a guy that's been hurt more than some of your older players, and he's a lot younger. Like, that concerns me more, and it's amazing how it doesn't concern many people. I'm surprised at that. At how we're just like, just put Mayer at third. Now, he's gotten hurt from playing. That's not a good thing. I love Marcelo. Hurt last year. Hurt in 24. Hurt in 23. And he's been hurt every year before he was legal to drink with back and hip and side and wrist. Those are injuries that those are, that for young players, that should concern you. And it concerns no one for some reason. Like, it's weird the agenda people have on certain players. You should be ultra concerned more about Mayer than Casas. Casas has gotten hurt that was a freak injury last year. Mayer has gotten hurt from playing. Back and side issues. And you could say, yeah, Roman Anthony too. I mean, sure, he can be, yeah, the swing and all. Yeah, and that started in Worcester. We saw that early on, but he's not been as hurt as much as Mayer. To just pencil and think that that's just going to go, I don't know. I have reservations about a player being hurt this much, this young, every single year, pretty much of his pro career. That's just me. But it's crickets. I get no comments about Mayer's injuries. Nothing. It's just, it's amazing. I mean, Trevor Story was not hurt this much early in his career. And most young players that go to the big leagues, they're pretty healthy. So to me, if they wanted to improve second base because they had concerns about Mayer, I would be okay with that, because I do too. I love this option that Sean McAdam floated out. I think when we look over the history of players, and I think this is what happens, maybe because it's getting close to Christmas, people want like the glamour muscles, like the six-pack abs. That's my metaphor to the star player. That's all we want. That's all I see on social media. This star player, this star player, this star player. Why can't we get Hunter Green? By the way, the Reds basically said they're classifying Hunter Green as like a Paul Skeens type, which I told you guys this months ago or whenever, that there was no chance that was happening. No chance. And we want all these star players. And when you look back, the 04 Red Sox had a really good core, and Theo did a good job putting guys in like Mark Bellhorn, Bill Miller, Kevin Millar. the complimentary guys. Brendan Donovan will be a buzzkill to most of you. This guy can play. Now, you'd have to trade for him. But I know people will quickly go to the Google machine and tell me why he's not worth it because of his WAR or something else. I could care less about any of that stuff. This guy is a hard-nosed player that can hit lefties, that can play second base, left field, third base, shortstop. In fact, in his rookie year, he was a Gold Glove utility guy. He was an all-star last year. He played every position except center and catcher. He's had a solid 4 years. But there will be people who will try to talk themselves out of this because he's not, I don't know, Ketel Marte. You'd be lucky to get someone like this because every single team, if you type his name in, everyone is all over this. The Mets love this guy. The Dodgers love this guy. You could control him through 2028. I would do this in a heartbeat. But even someone like this, and he's not, a sexy name, he will cost you. He's with the Cardinals. You think Heim's just going to hand him over? But this is a really, really good player that if you had in your lineup, less swing and miss is what they need. Cora has talked about this over and over. 67 strikeouts. He's a contact hitter. Perfect. I would think number 2 hitter. Or maybe even lead off. Maybe doesn't have dynamic speed. But I would love a player like that. These are the type of guys that can make a difference. But I know for most you're gonna They'll find some advanced analytic, to not like him. Position versatility, potential Gold Glove fielder, contact hitter, hits for average, can hit lefties, it's solid. But I think that you'd have to, especially with Heim. But Sean McAdam, good for him. I would do this in a heartbeat. I also think that these two are playing games, to be honest. Boris is doing this. They will return to their teams. I've said it from the start. I have no doubts about Bregman. I don't. Or Alonso. Because I think if the market was really, really hot for those two, and you could say, well, we usually don't see guys sign. True. I just don't think the market for them is at all what is being put out there. I just don't. Because of what? There's only a few teams that can do this, right? The Dodgers don't need Alonso, right? The Yankees are okay. So who else is going to be out there then? For basically you're getting a DH for what Boris wants. You got to remember now, I know some of you, have commented me and think maybe I'm being too critical on Alonso. I'm talking about the value. And I know many of, I get it. Like, we think it's monopoly money and all that, but it's just because you have money doesn't mean you make bad baseball moves. Like, well, who cares? Well, I do. I've already seen that here. They've made bad moves by just patchworking. Remember Pablo Sandoval? We all had no issues with them spending money there. Then you had to live with that. No, you don't do things just because you have that's a position of need. I get it. But you don't do something irrational just to solve it. And a 6 or 7 year deal for someone like that is not good value. It's not. I mean, for all the numbers people, you could look these numbers up and see from 31 to 37 at what he wants, you will never get that back. You are basically paying. That's what you do for Boris people. You pay for previous. In 2000, 22, Alonso made $7 million. This is also the issue why I don't like the system. I think the system needs to change where the salary should be dictated on how you play. I don't know how you would do that, but this is why this happens. And this is another conversation, but just to keep it open for a few minutes more, if you want to know why it gets to this point. Alonso comes up and hits 53 homers in 2019 and makes, guess how much money? $555,000. Right? Is that a glaring problem? Yes. Then we had the pandemic and all that, and then he gets bumped up to $7 million in 2022. And what does he hit in 2022? 271 with 40 homers, 131 RBIs. Next year, bad batting average, a lot of homers, a lot of RBIs. But my point is, you go from league minimum to 7 million to 14 to 20 to 30. It goes way too much. And I know they've changed the players have been asking for a bigger minimum salary. And I think with these younger players getting to the big leagues and succeeding more early, you're either going to have to do what the Red Sox did, which was smart, giving Anthony and Crochet that money early, but you got to change the structure. Has to be a little bit more. You can't have guys making $550 then go to $8 million. There's got to be a little more where you got to pay them more. But this is why this happens, and it's gotten a little better now because teams have figured it out. Let's just pay the guys early. No one was doing this years ago, and then the Rays did it with Longoria, and it opened up this. Oh yeah. And then the Braves did it with everyone. The Braves would have lost all those players. But that's why we end up where we end up, is because these guys are putting up better numbers younger, and it's costing that. You're paying the tax at the end. But I just don't think there's a market for these guys as you think. Yes, Pete Alonso's got power, but it's a first baseman at the end of the day. You're not going to give $160, $70 million to that. You're not. And everyone in the game knows how much he wants to be with the Mets. He wants to make that work, but he's got Boris. And I don't think there's a huge market for Bregman. I guess the Yankees are not in on it. And you don't really hear much about his market. A lot of the stuff is rumors, but really I don't, so they'll be back. It's like I told you, all of you, if you were watching at the beginning, this is going to go really good. It's going to go really bad. It's going to go in the middle. And in the end, Bregman will be back and Alonso will too. I'm telling you, it's going to happen. It's just the Boris games that he's playing. No games with our comments. Let's get to them. They're always great. Read them all a weekend. Robert Mascola, 4466. I like the idea of Romy at first, an everyday right-handed bat that can hit 275, give you 15 to 20 homers, playing above average defense. Use the money you don't spend on Alonso, bring back Bregman and sign Cease. If we can get Marte, then Marcelo can be your infield utility guy to give people days off, eventually take over short if he's healthy, and Story can be your DH. I love that. I do too, but Robert, no one's going to like the Romy thing for some reason. It's like people are talking themselves out of it because it's not a name. I could care less. I know a lot of you didn't like Bellhorn and Johnny Gomes and all that. I know. I was there for all of it. I was there with the complaining. Romy Gonzalez was picked up off the street. I had people tell me last year, well, he's starting to hit righties. Yes, because he's playing against them. They didn't play him against righties. But what would, at the end of the day, there's a fear. Well, what if he doesn't have the season he did? Well, I mean, I could do that for everybody. But what did he not do? I mean, he did a lot for me. Like when I started watching him play every day, I'm like, he should play every day. You guys don't like Casas. He's hurt anyways. He hit 305 last year in 96 games. which is not a small sample size. I don't care if he's not as, I don't care that he's not a sexy name. All I care about is the best players. But this will get, laughed at, and I don't see any issue with this. And why do we fall on the side that, well, he's what if it doesn't work out? What if he's better? Maybe he is an everyday player. It's not the White Sox fault. Maybe they were wrong. Right? We just assume all these organizations were right. Maybe they were wrong about him. Plus, he never really got a chance. 10 games, 32 games, 44 games. He was pretty good in 24 in 89 games with the Red Sox, and he got better. Why couldn't he get better this year? I have no issues with that. This is why. If you gave Alonso all that money and didn't sign Cease, that doesn't make you better. You could still get by with Romy, but you can't get by without arms. And I'm not saying that the Red Sox don't have good arms. I'm just saying I think I would do that. Put the money towards a Dylan Cease or a Framber Valdez and Bregman and keep Romy, then do Bregman, Alonso, and don't sign one of those pitchers, because that's what will happen. You won't. Then you'll have to give up assets to get a number two when there's number twos right in front of you. But I love that, Robert. You're right on. And then he says just assemble your pen, which there's tons of options. My good friend, RLR Consulting. Detroit's problem with Skubal is less about not being willing to pay him and more about the likelihood that he doesn't want to play there long term. I don't care who someone's agent is. If a guy gets an offer from a team in a city he wants to be in, he's going there unless the offer is ridiculously uncompetitive. Yeah. I mean, yes and no, but they can't. I mean, they won't. I mean, it doesn't matter how much Skubal likes. Detroit's not going to have the money. You got the Mets and Dodgers that are in play here, and even the Red Sox. They can all offer way too much. He's not going to stay. The union won't allow it. I've said this to some of you. As much as you want to poke fun at A-Rod, he was really the last player to do this. He took $40 million less because he wanted to play with Ortiz and Manny, and Donald Fehr ripped it up and said no. So he can't take less money. And you're right. And it will. I don't know if it's going to be ridiculously uncompetitive. I think the other teams can go so much further than Detroit, who have owners that own Little Caesars and I've already done this, but players can't stay with where their heart is. It's unfortunate. It's just the way the rules are. I love this too. At Laurent-John Crofwell 8493. I believe the Sox already have its number 2, Connolly Early. I don't think that's a wild statement. I like the bold statement. Who's to say he can't be? Unproven? Absolutely. I liked a lot of what I see about Connolly Early. Maybe not yet, but the amount of tweets I've seen that he's a 5 is crazy. That's not a fifth starter doesn't have stuff like that. Trust me. And then you guys and gals know that too. A fifth starter is like a Cooper Criswell. Connolly Early has upper, and that's when a lot of people get labeling pitchers by where they are in the rotation. The organizations don't base that on statistics. It's repertoire, right? It's pretty. Crochet's repertoire, he's a 1 because of his stuff. Bayo's stuff was better than Giolito. It was. We got better stuff, right? And then on and on and on and on. That's how it works. It's not statistical based. Pedro, think about those guys. Great numbers. The stuff's off the charts. I think the Yankees have 3 1s, to be honest. I don't think the Yankees have a 4 and 5 starters. Cole, Rodon, Fried, Schlittler, Will Warren maybe. Will Warren wouldn't be a 4 or 5. Luis Heel, Rookie of the Year? Stuff. Those guys have swing and miss dominant pitches. They're all upper rotation guys. The Dodgers have 4 ones. Right? I mean, Yamamoto, Ohtani, Snell, and Glasnow. Okay, maybe Snell's a 2. Those 4 guys, all so it's based on stuff. It's not based on like statistics. You know, this overwhelming thing about Bayo's not a 2. Like it's a little. Okay, so he's a 3. Like, who cares? I don't know why. Like, there's this. He's not a 2. He's not. I mean, he's allowed to get better too. Again, another guy that I thought made way more strides last year. Above the shoulders, you know, third full year for him. He's durable. But yeah, you know, I see it. But I mean, his ERA last year was 3.35. The year before was 4.5. He improved. From everything I watched this year, and I watched almost every start, he looked more mature. And who's to say he can't get better? Like, we top these guys off so much. He's not a 2. He's not a 2. Really? I mean, Pedro doesn't think that. Pedro said he's the top of the rotation guy for his money. I trust Pedro's word a lot more than fans. You know, not to be mean, or even my opinion. But I'm not going to, like, close the door on, you know, that he can't be a number 2 guy in the rotation, but he's a number 3. I mean, it's splitting hairs here. Joe Ryan's numbers are not much better than Brian Bayo. It's, you know, we're acting like we're getting Scooble in talking about Joe Ryan. Now, Scooble's different. But again, these guys, you know, I think it's, to close this out, I think it's you know, I made this analogy to wide receivers in football. I think it's big years for 3 players, Abreu, Rafaela, and Bayo. They turn the corner. Can they, and they have the ability. Be interesting to see where they go next year. We're going. We're out. Monday's show is over. We'll talk to you on Tuesday. Make sure you leave a comment. I'll get to them throughout the day. I promise. It's Red Sox Now presented by Fan Arch. And as always, go Sox.